During the time the Saints were in Missouri in the 1830s, there was an opportunity taken to try to publish the revelations that were given to the prophet Joseph Smith in this dispensation in a single volume. Some of them have been published in the Evening and the Morning Star, but it was felt that they needed to be put into a book form. And at the time, the press, the church press of W.W. Phelps, was in Jackson County in Independence, Missouri. And it was at that point that W.W. Phelps attempted, under direction of the prophet, through Oliver Cowdery, who had supervision of the project, to print the Revelations for the first time. They put a little book together. They started printing it. They only got to 160 pages, or 5 signatures as it was called, when a mob came in and destroyed the press and destroyed much of the print that had been done for the book on July 20th of 1833. They threw the type into the street. They set fire to some of the paper and so on. A couple of little girls, Caroline and Maria, and a little boy by the name of John Taylor, not the church president, ran into the street and tried to save as many of the Revelations as they could. In the case of the girls, they ran into a cornfield. The corn was quite high at the time, July 20th, and they were able to lay down on the sheets and to preserve them until later in the afternoon when the mob had left. And they were worried the mob was still there when they heard voices, and they got up and conveyed the sheets to Mr. and Mrs. W.W. Phelps, who were surprised to see that any of the book had been saved at all. Out of this, about 29 copies, approximately, we think, survive today. They were made up into little books. None of them were complete because the book, as I say, was on the press up to 5 signatures, only partly printed at the time. But they printed these little books. This is an example of the Book of Commandments, rather a rare little book. And one of the distinctive features of it is that the Revelation headnotes only had first names. So you had to know who the revelation was to. Now, if it was to Joseph, you could probably say it was to Joseph Sr., Joseph Jr. If it was to David, or if it was to John, or if it was to someone else, you might have to guess. The headnotes were very limited for the book, and the revelations were sometimes abbreviated. For instance, our famous section 4 on the attributes you need to have as missionaries and others to serve the Lord just has an and etc. after listing the first couple of attributes. So you had to wait till the second edition came out to find out what that whole list of things you had to be and have in order to be a missionary or to go out and serve the Lord was. It wasn't very long after this, about 2 years, that the first edition of the Doctrine and Covenants came off the press. It was printed back at Kirtland, Ohio. So they moved the press materials there that they were able to get. And they published it, and it had full names on the headnotes. And it had a whole section in the front, Doctrine of the Church, which was the articles dealing with the faith of the church, the treatise on faith. And so there's the book, the name of the book held even when the lectures on faith were taken out of the book and not canonized later. So I guess technically we don't have any doctrine in the Doctrine and Covenants, right? Just have the section that's called Covenant and Commandments of the Lord, but the name stuck. And it all went back to this little volume that didn't get completed.